Okay, there's she going back to the back, right? Now, look, that could be a simple case of, oh shit, my back's hurt. I'm coming out of the game. I'm disappointing a lot of fans. I know the shit storm that this is going to cause after the fact. There's going to be questions.
That's not the walk of someone who's angry about losing. That's the walk of someone who's furious about how they lost. And the footage that surfaced after this game has created an absolute firestorm. Because the question everyone's asking isn't whether Caitlin Clark was hurt. It's whether she was actually benched in the middle of a comeback.
And a lot of people are questioning, was Caitlin Clark actually benched as opposed to actually being injured? We'll look at that footage. I think it's at least worth looking at. I watched it and I was like, I got to tell you, I think she was injured and that's why she was pulled. But the footage is really suspect too. I'm not going to bullshit you there.
This is the aftermath we're talking about. Caitlin Clark exits a game with her team down, puts up 19 points and 8 assists, and suddenly she's on the bench. The Indiana Fever announces a back injury. But here's the problem. The timeline doesn't add up, the body language doesn't match, and Stephanie White's explanation has more holes than Swiss cheese. Let's start with what we know for certain. Caitlin Clark played 28 minutes against Phoenix. She had 19 points, 8 assists, and was in the middle of trying to mount a comeback. Then, with over 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, she's pulled from the game. The official word, lower back soreness. Sounds reasonable, right?
Right in front of her. Stephanie claims she didn't see it in the post-game press conference. Well,
lost her footing.
We have determined, as Maury Povich said, that's a lie. That is a lie. Now, let's start getting to these videos. Sports Patriot put this up. Check this video out. This is as Caitlin Clark is being sent to the locker room.
Except Stephanie White claims she never saw the incident with Alyssa Thomas that allegedly caused the injury. That's her story. She didn't see it, but watch the footage again. White is looking directly at the play. She's standing right there. She sees everything. And then she turns and yells at Caitlin, not at the referee who's standing 3 feet in front of her. This is where the credibility starts cracking. You're the head coach. Your franchise player just took a hard foul, and you're telling us you didn't see it. When the camera shows you staring right at the contact, that's not a coaching decision. That's damage control.
And then Caitlin is gone. So let's watch this. Right here, she's going to walk over. She says something to Caitlin Clark. Caitlin leans over to listen. I'm going to mute that because I don't want a copyright strike on some bullshit music.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Footage from inside the arena shows what happened during the timeout before Caitlin left the court. The coaches huddle up on one side, the players are on the other side. Then Brianna January walks over from the coaches' huddle, says something to Caitlin, and within seconds, Caitlin Clark is walking off the court. If she was injured, why didn't the coaching staff talk to her directly? Why send another player to deliver the message? And why did it take the Indiana Fever media nearly an hour after the game ended to confirm what happened? These aren't small questions. These are fundamental breakdowns in how you handle your superstar.
And I was like, what the hell happened here? Again, maybe this is all coincidence. Maybe this is all, maybe Caitlin Clark had informed them that her back was hurting and the coaches huddled up about it. And maybe they told her, hey, we need to get that back looked at. We need you to go back and get that back looked at.
The video from John the Liquidator is what's really driving this controversy. He was courtside, he had a clear view, and his footage shows Caitlin Clark walking off the court with her face red, grabbing at her uniform, looking absolutely furious. Now, to be fair, when you're in pain, your face can be flushed. Adrenaline does that. But watch her movement. She's not limping, she's not favoring one side, she's walking with purpose. Compare that to how players typically exit when they're injured. There's usually some indication of discomfort in their gait, some visible sign that something's wrong. This looks like someone who's pissed off, not someone who's hurt, and that's the disconnect that's fueling all the speculation.
18-8 at that point, and there was a turnover right before this sequence. I believe Caitlin Clark turned the ball over. Okay. I mean, this is, and there she goes, walking off the court, going to the back. Okay. So now we got this video. This is from John the Liquidator. Whitlock swears up and down.
Here's what makes this even more suspicious. The Fever play again on Saturday. That's 2 days away. Then they don't play again until the following Sunday. 8 full days of rest after Saturday's game. If Caitlin Clark's back was genuinely hurt enough to pull her from a close game in the fourth quarter, you'd expect her to sit out Saturday, right? Give her that 10-day window to recover. But if she plays on Saturday, if she's out there like nothing happened, then every single question about Thursday night becomes legitimate. Because you don't recover from a back injury serious enough to end your night in 48 hours. That's not how injuries work.
So,
all right.
So y'all see
John
Caitlin?
The Liquidator.
Y'all see Caitlin? Caitlin look pissed. Watch her face. Watch.
She does look mad. She's red-faced. Now, here's the thing. When you're hurt and you're in pain, your face can be red, too. I'm just pointing that out.
Oh, y'all see Caitlin? Y'all see Caitlin? Caitlin look pissed. Watch her face. Watch her face. Watch her. Grabbing on her pants. Do it look like her back hurt?
And let's talk about the Phoenix Mercury's role in all this. They posted a photo after the game that was clearly taking a shot at the situation. The image showed their celebration with a caption that implied they knew something was off. Then, after the backlash started, they deleted it. Gone. Vanished. Why delete it if there's nothing controversial about what happened? Why pull down a post-game celebration photo unless you realized you'd stepped in something messy? The Mercury saw what everyone else saw. They were on the court. They watched Caitlin get pulled. And their initial reaction was to mock it. That tells you what the opposing team thought was happening.
I think it's worth questioning. That's where the media, Indiana Fever media, if any of y'all locate a pair of testicles, again, I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to dog out the Indiana Fever media from now on. I'm on your ass now. All right? Because y'all pissed me off last night with that. It took 900 years to figure out what the hell was going on with Caitlin Clark before we... I keep telling you guys, I can't stand journalists. I despise them. It is what it is. That's what they've done.
Here's what makes this significant. Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White are not on the same page. They haven't been all season, and anyone who thinks these two have some great relationship is ignoring every piece of evidence we've seen. They're professional. They say the right things in public. But watch their interactions. Watch the body language. Watch how Stephanie coaches her versus how she coaches everyone else. This isn't the first time we've seen tension. Remember earlier in the season when Stephanie pulled Caitlin during crucial stretches. Remember the defensive scheme changes that seemed designed to limit Caitlin's impact on offense. This has been building for months, and Thursday night might have been the breaking point. Think about it from Caitlin's perspective. You're carrying this franchise. You're the reason fans show up. You're putting up 19-8, trying to will your team back into a game, and suddenly you're on the bench. Whether it's an injury or a benching, the optics are terrible, and the way it was handled makes it worse. The coaching staff huddles without you. They send a teammate to deliver the message. You walk off the court visibly angry. Then the team takes forever to explain what happened, and when they finally do, the explanation doesn't match what people saw with their own eyes. That's how you lose trust. That's how you create the exact situation the Fever are in right now. And here's the thing about beat reporters and media coverage. They should have been all over this immediately. The Indiana Fever media should have been pressing for answers the second Caitlin left the court. Instead, we got silence. We got delay. We got vague statements that created more questions than answers. That's not journalism. That's public relations work. The media's job is to ask uncomfortable questions, to push back when the official story doesn't add up, to represent the fans who deserve to know what's happening with the player they paid to see. And on Thursday night, the Indiana media failed that test completely. They let the organization control the narrative for way too long. By the time we got confirmation, social media had already filled the void with speculation. Now compare that to how she treats other reporters. Watch Caitlin in press conferences when she's talking to journalists she trusts. Eye contact, detailed answers, genuine engagement. She's not difficult. She's not media averse. She just knows who's in her corner and who's looking for a headline at her expense. And after Thursday night, that list of trusted media members probably got a lot shorter. Scott, Agnes and the rest of the Fever beat have to rebuild credibility here. Because right now, the perception is that they're too close to the organization. They're protecting access instead of pursuing truth. And in a situation like this, where the official explanation doesn't match the visual evidence, that's a massive problem. What makes this particularly awkward is the timing. The WNBA is in the middle of a massive growth period. Ratings are up, attendance is up. Caitlin Clark is a huge part of that success. And the league cannot afford to have its biggest star involved in this kind of controversy, whether it's real or manufactured. The optics alone are damaging. If this was a legitimate injury, the Fever needed to handle it better. Medical staff should have been visible. The explanation should have been immediate. There should have been no room for speculation. Instead, we got confusion, delay, and footage that contradicts the official story. That's organizational malpractice. If this was a benching disguised as an injury, that's even worse. That's lying to fans. That's disrespecting the player. That's creating a situation where nobody trusts anything the organization says moving forward. And in a league that's fighting for credibility and respect, that kind of deception is unforgivable. This dynamic is going to continue until someone tells the truth. Either Caitlin was hurt and the Fever botched the communication, or she was benched and they're covering it up. There's no middle ground here, and Saturday's game is going to tell us everything we need to know. If she plays, the injury story falls apart. If she sits, maybe it was legitimate all along. So the question becomes, was this worth it? Was whatever happened on Thursday night worth the damage to Stephanie White's credibility? Worth the questions about how the organization treats its franchise player? Worth the media circus we're in right now? Because from where I'm sitting, this could have been avoided with basic transparency and competent communication. Instead, we've got conspiracy theories, deleted social media posts, suspicious footage, and a fan base that doesn't know what to believe. That's not how you build a championship culture. That's how you create chaos. And if the Indiana Fever don't get ahead of this immediately, Saturday's game is going to be a nightmare regardless of whether Caitlin plays or not. What do you think really happened? Was she injured or was she benched? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want to see how this plays out on Saturday, hit subscribe because we're covering every second of this story.